So I've got this thing, and I can hear people already say, that's not a Mopar. And for those people, I just want you to read me what that says right there. Say it out loud with me. Dodge. Yes, I realize Mitsubishi made it, but Dodge sold it, and I've always thought they were beautiful and always wanted one. So, I got one. I paid $200 for this one because it had major paint problems and wasn't running. So I've been working on this thing for months. When I got it, the entire car, the clear coat was peeling. You can still see I haven't done anything with this mirror yet. You can see my clear coat issues there. I've done some sanding right here trying to feather the edge of the clear coat, but the whole car was like this all over. You can see more of it right here, down that panel there. Also, somebody had keyed the car. That's what these scratches all are. The girl, apparently, who had this at one point had ticked somebody off because it used to have a not very nice word scratched into the paint right here, and another not very nice word scratched into the door on the other side right about here, along with all the random key scratches down both sides of the car. So I've been experimenting with painting. I painted this fender, or that quarter panel rather, and it didn't turn out terrible. It looks better than it did. So far the best has been this fender right here. Turned out pretty great, and the hood turned out looking pretty great. They're dirty right now because I had it outside and got rained on the other day. And the front bumper cover is not too bad. It turned out pretty good. And by the way, all of this paint is Rust-Oleum. I started off with Rattle Can, but Rattle Can doesn't, it's hard to paint and get it smooth. So I switched to the quarts, they're about that tall, of Rust-Oleum, and mix it 2 parts acetone to 1 part Rust-Oleum paint, and spray it on there. Oh, and I started adding this enamel hardener that you can pick up at Tractor Supply as well. But right now what I'm trying to do is put this front bumper cover back on. So all the bolts are out of it. It's just sitting here right now. And I was about to put these lights back in, and I noticed one of my lights is busted right there in the corner. And I'm sure these can be had fairly cheap, but instead of buying one fairly cheap, I'm going to repair this one. And I think if I use this busted headlight that I've got and saw off this piece right here, right about there, I think I can stick something in there and nobody will ever notice and glue it in place. Anyhow, we'll see how that turns out. So I went ahead and cut this off of here so I could try to use it to repair that. People seeing this are going to say, my gosh, his shop's a mess. To which I reply, yes, it is. I need to get around to that. So after I cut this off, I think I want my lines to, even though they're not the same width as these, I can live with it. But I am going to try to have them line up with them, not be skewed like that at a different angle. And I honestly could have cut this a little bit longer, but I think I'm going to match it up down here at the bottom, and maybe just fill in with some epoxy or something there. And I'm going to rough cut hog it off with that grinder right there and try to get it to fit close. this is the situation you get into when you're using old brittle plastic from a headlight to make a repair, which I probably would have been okay, except the grind wheel that I was using is way too coarse. So I'm going to super glue it. Bam! And just like that, through the magic of video editing, good as new. Practically like a new one. Also, I went back and watched the first video segment I took and noticed that there was actually a crack right there before I started trying to work this piece. So I could have picked a better piece of plastic to start with. But I don't feel like starting over again from scratch, so I'm going to go with it. So this is what we've got so far, which is getting close, but I'm going to have to do a little more trimming on it. And also, the piece of plastic I'm sticking in there is a little too thick. I think I'm going to have to cut a groove that's shaped like that in here so that this is thinner. But I'm getting close. Okay, so what I've done now is I took my piece and I held it up here, and I had to do a little more rough grinding here to get it to fit better. And then I took a dry erase marker and I marked out on the front side of here this curve, which was the sides of this piece of plastic here, because that sticks up a bit. And so I needed to groove. Remember, this is thick, so I had to cut a groove in it. So I cut a groove where this goes so that that could straddle it like that, and it actually fits pretty decent. And I think my next move is going to be to glue that on there, and then I'll come back and grind this outside to fit after I've got it glued into place. Oh, I forgot to show you. This was the bit I used on my Dremel tool. I just had it stuck out that far so that I could reach in here and do that. And I could see this side had been marked with the dry erase marker, and I could look through it and see where my marks were and do that. And then try to fit it and then grind it a little more. And I eventually got it where it fit pretty good. And my dry erase marks wiped off real nicely. Alright, that's glued in place. All in all, it didn't turn out too shabby. I can live with it. I just have to grind that outside edge off. I'm a little bit, this is concave that way, and this is actually convex the other way. So you can see when the light hits it, it kind of does weird things there. But I think it'll be okay. Oh, and you might be saying, why would you do this? How expensive can that light possibly be? I looked on eBay and I saw one that was similar to this but not quite right for $35. I could have made it work, but it wouldn't have matched the other side. The one that actually looked right and would match the other side, the cheapest one I saw on eBay, was about $70. And if you'll remember, I said I paid $200 for the whole car, so I'm not really interested in paying $70 for that light. I used this and got it closer. Now I'm going to take it over to the big grinder and finish it up. Okay, I think I'm pretty close to there. I can live with it. Versus paying $70 for another one. The grinding wheel on my grinder is pretty rough. At least on the grinder that I used to form that corner. And as I was doing it, I thought, ooh, this is hard enough, vibrating hard enough, that I'm probably going to ruin the bulb. But I thought, no big deal. I'll just replace it. It's an 1157, right? Or something similar. And then I pulled this out. And when I saw that, I thought, oh crap, that looks expensive. And I did, in fact, mess up the filament, if you can see it in there. Yeah, anyway, it broke the filament. So I got on Amazon and looked for this thing, and the first one that came up was $21 for one of these. I'll move this because my focus is being weird. And I thought, no, I'm not doing $21. And so I kept searching, and then I found a pair of these for $8. So this was really just a $4 mistake that I ruined this one. I can live with that. The ones that are $8 for a pair, though, don't have a bullet connector on the end. It's a spade connector, so I'll have to replace that. But for the difference between $4 for one and $21 for one, I can replace the connector on the end. Also, I installed the lens in the car. It's the one on the passenger side over here. So under normal circumstances, you're not really going to notice that chipped corner that I repaired. I suppose if I get down like this, it's pretty obvious. But most of the time, people walking by are not going to notice that. And this is just a fun driver, not a show car. So I'm doing it on the cheap.